ahead of this Gaza ethnic cleansing campaign, there were a lot of reports that inside the cabinet meetings, you would have the chief of staff and others saying, we don't have the international legitimacy to carry out this ethnic cleansing, and we don't have the manpower to fully occupy Gaza City long term because the reservists are all shaken with PTSD. They're ready, or there's that entire complication there. We just physically can't do it, and if we try to physically do it, it will be a disaster for us. He's doing it anyway. How much of that is misdirection? How much of that is real? And is Netanyahu pushing the country beyond the physical limits, and it's beyond its resource limits, forgetting the ethics and the morality of it? Is he going to break it?
I think there is. I think the genuine part of this story, or the one that I think is rooted in fact, is getting ground soldiers in to Gaza, from Israel, is going to come with a cost that could prove too high for Israeli society. Israel has lost, relative to its tiny size, a fairly large number of its soldiers, either being taken captive or being killed or wounded in a long-term way. That's true. I think that the Israeli appetite because it's such a tiny country, for its soldiers dying is probably not a very strong one. So I think there is some legitimacy to when military commanders who have to deal with their troops every day are looking at these plans. But outside of that, I think that in general, the reports about Netanyahu being motivated by keeping his coalition together or concerns about his political trials, I think these are greatly exaggerated. And one of the facts is that is relevant in recent opinion polls of the Israeli public. A very large majority of Israelis, regardless of their political opinion, of Jewish Israelis, support the Gaza agenda. And I think we have to keep repeating that it's as much as Bernie Sanders wants to pretend there isn't a place called Israel that's doing this, but that it's just a man called Netanyahu and his far-right cabinet, the majority of that society is behind this bloodthirsty mass murder campaign. And I think that needs to be repeated over and over. So Netanyahu is at the zenith of his political career. I think he very much believes that this is his moment to run the deck. I think that he really, truly wants to depopulate Gaza entirely of Palestinians, because a long-term Israeli occupation of Gaza is going to mean a war of attrition against the occupation forces there. I also think, Netanyahu is a shrewd student of American politics. We don't know what's going to happen in the midterm elections in the United States. I think that Netanyahu feels like he has a window here that is the best position that a genocidal Israeli leader has ever been in, where you have Trump imposing a kind of authoritarian agenda in the United States, where there is a full carte blanche support for Israel's war of annihilation, where Trump himself put on the table this notion of a Gaza Riviera. Netanyahu likes to talk about it, but he doesn't say it's going to be American run. He talks about it as an Israeli agenda. And I think we have to take him at his word that is the actual agenda here. So, I think that there is a level at which some of the domestic political considerations impact Netanyahu. I think it's been greatly, greatly exaggerated. This is a genocidal, maniacal lunatic who is operating with the full credit, support, and armaments of the United States in an unprecedented manner. And that's taking into account 76 years of unquestioning support. So it's a major, major factor here. Netanyahu believes this is the chance to do it.
I would just add, when we were talking about capability, air power is everything. Air power is everything. And Israel does not have to make any hard decisions because it just gets an unlimited supply of bombs. Unlimited. Think about how many bombs have fallen on Gaza every single day for 2 years now. And not only Gaza, they bombed Lebanon, they bombed Yemen, they bombed Syria, they bombed Iran, they bombed Qatar. There's very few countries they haven't bombed in the region. They have proven to be actually quite a meager fighting force on the ground. After carpet bombing entire areas, troops finally move in, and they still get attacked by fighters who are withstanding a genocide, who are starving, who have nothing more than homemade kind of munitions that they run up to a tank and throw it into and cause casualties, actually. So air power is everything in this, and as long as these bombs keep coming and are supplied, they don't have to make any difficult decisions. They can keep this up. That is the problem, and that's why a lot of the policy comes from the US. That's where it has to change. Israel is not going to stop. It's not going to be convinced to stop. It's not a Netanyahu problem. This is its very ethos as a colonial state. So it has to be stopped by not being able to do it anymore. And the only way to do that is for the support from the US, from Europe to end.